Good day, everyone. I am Marwin M. Tiope, and for today, I will be discussing the setting, the time, place, mood, and atmosphere together with the characterization of the novel The Life of Pi.
So, the setting of the novel Life of Pi is exactly what happens to our protagonists in the novel. The settings have five significant, which include the Pondicherry Zoo, the Pacific Ocean in a lifeboat, a carnivorous island, Mexico where Pi is rescued, and lastly, the Canada where Pi makes a new life for himself. So the settings undergoes a series of changes in time and place. So for the physical settings, we have the Pondicherry Zoo in India. It is the hometown of the protagonist Pisin Molitor Patel, also known as Pi. So Pondicherry Zoo is the place where Pi grows up and spends most of his childhood. So the zoo is run by his family who are about animals and their welfare. So Pondicherry Zoo is not a major settings, though it serves as an important backdrop for Pai's character development and sets the stage for his incredible journey. The next, we have the Pacific Ocean exactly in a lifeboat. So this is where Pi and his family board a ship called Tim Tum and sail across the Pacific Ocean. However, the ship sinks due to a storm and Pi finds himself stranded on a lifeboat with a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. So they spend 227 days at sea, during which they face many challenges such as storms, sharks, and other dangers that threaten their survival. Eventually, they reach a small island that provides temporary safety before they continue their journey. They discover the Carnivorous Island. Carnivorous Island is a place which Pi and Richard Parker discovered that provides safety before they continue their journey. However, the island turns out to be carnivorous and Pi realizes that it is not what it seems and they are not safe for them to stay. So this setting serves as metaphor for the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of seemingly perfect situations. Mexico or Mexico is where Pi rescued. So Mexico is the final destination of the protagonist in the novel. Mexico is the final destination of the protagonist in the novel. After surviving a shipwreck and being stranded at sea for 227 days with a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker, so Pi is rescued by Japanese cargo ship. He tells his incredible story to the officials in Mexico who are investigating the sinking of the ship. So in Mexico, Pi is taken to a hospital where he receives medical treatment for his injuries and malnutrition. So in the end, Pi is released from the hospital and returns to Canada where he is reunited with his family. Canada is Pi's home country and takes place where he returns after being rescued from his ordeal at sea. So Pi is reunited with his family, including his parents and his brother Ravi who did not survive the shipwreck. So as seen, the chronological sequence of events changes over time. So for instance, Pi's family decides to move to Canada and sell their animals, and it is where the events hype up with their ship sinking, leaving Pi stranded at sea and with a Bengal tiger. Pi struggles to survive on the lifeboat with Richard Parker, facing storms, hunger, and dehydration. So Pi and Richard Parker eventually landed on a mysterious island that is it not what it seems. Then they left after they discovered that the island eat humans and that the island is carnivorous. Pi is rescued by a passing ship and taken to Mexico, where he tells his story to officials who do not believe him. He returns to Canada where he struggles to adjust to life after his traumatic experience. Therefore, a setting in general creates a character development, so Pi develops physical by learning the roles of his new world and adapting them, emotionally by experiencing unfamiliar emotions and allowing himself to feel freely, and spiritually as he learns to be firm in his belief and rely on religion. So now let us proceed to the mood of the novel. Throughout the story, the mood displayed is a mixture of melancholy, tense, anxious, violent, lonely, and fearful because Pi is constantly facing life-threatening situations throughout the story. So from sinking of the ship to being stranded at sea with dangerous animals. So Pi always in danger and uncertain about his future. The violence and fear experiences during his journey are palpable as he faces storms, hunger, and dehydration. So the loneliness is being stranded at the sea with only a tiger for a company also adds to the overall mood of the story. So additionally, Pai struggles to be believed by officials and trauma he experiences upon returning to Canada contribute to the melancholic and anxious tones of the novel. Now let us proceed to the characterization of the novel. First, we have Pisin Molitor Patel or Pai. Pai is the protagonist of the story. Pisin is the narrator for most of the novel, and his account of his 7 months at the sea forms the bulk of the story. He gets his unusual name from the French word for pool, and more specifically from a pool in Paris in which a close family friend, Francis Adribosami, loved to swim. So Pai is a student of zoology and religion. Pai is deeply intrigued by the habits and characteristics of animals and people. Also, Pai is a young Indian boy who practices 3 religions, Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam. Then we have Richard Parker, Royal Bengal tiger with whom Pai shares his lifeboat. Richard Parker named him Kirsty, but a shipping clerk made a mistake and reversed their names. From then on the Pondicherry Zoo, he was known as Richard Parker. Weighing 450 pounds and about 9 long, he kills the hyena on the lifeboat and the blind cannibal. Richard Parker is initially Pai's greatest fear and threat, but over time, they develop a strange coexistence in the lifeboat. So Richard Parker represents the raw power of nature and the animalistic instincts that drive us all. He also a symbol of the human psyche's darker, more primal aspects. Third, we have the author, so the narrator of the fictitious author's notes who inserts himself into the narrative of several points throughout the text. Though the author who pens the author's notes never identifies himself by name, there are many clues that indicate it is Jan Martel himself, thinly disguised, who he lives in Canada, has published 2 books, and was inspired to write Pai's life story during a trip to India. So then we have Francis Adirubasami, so the elderly man who tells the author's Pai story during a change meeting in a Pondicherry coffee shop. So he taught Pai to swim as a child and bestowed upon him his unusual moniker. So he arranged for the authors to meet Pai in person so as to get a first-person account of his strange and compelling tale. So Pai calls him Mamaji, an Indian term that means respected uncle. Francis Adirubasami, he is a family friend of Pai's and was one of the few survivors of the shipwreck in which Pai was involved. So he introduces the author to Pai and encourages him to write about the Pai's incredible journey. Then next we have Ravai. Ravai is Pai's older brother. Ravai prefers sports to schoolwork and is quite popular. Ravai is athletic and an avid player of cricket and torments Pai endlessly about religion. But Ravai dies aboard Simsum. Then we have Santosh Patel. So Santosh Patel is Pai's father and curator of the Pondicherry Zoo. He once owned a Madras hotel, but because of his depth interest in animals, he decided to run the Pondicherry Zoo. Santosh Patel is a warrior by nature. He teaches his sons not only to care for and control wild animals, but to fear them. Though raised him in Hindu, he is not religious and is puzzled by Pai's adoption of numerous religions. The difficult conditions in India led him to move his family in Canada. Then we have Jita Patel. Jita Patel is Pai's mother and protector. Jita is raised a Hindu and had a Baptist education, but she is non-religious as an adult and questions Pai's faith. She is a book lover and she encourages Pai to read widely. She speaks her mind, letting her husband know when she disagrees with his parenting techniques. So when Pai relates another version of his story to his rescuers, she takes the place of orange juice in the lifeboats. And orange juice in the novel is a orangutan. We have the second to the last, who is Satish Kumar. So Satish Kumar is a Pai's atheistic biology teacher at Petit Seminary and a great mentor, a secondary school in Pondicherry. Satish Kumar is a polio survivor. Satish Kumar is an odd-looking man with body shape like a triangle. So his devotion to the power of scientific inquiry and explanations inspired Pi to study zoology in college. Lastly, we have Father Martin. So, Father Martin is the Catholic priest who introduces Pies to Christianity after Pi wanders into his church. So, he preaches a message of love. He, the Muslim Mr. Kumar, and the Hindu Pandit disagree about whose religion Pi should practice. Father Martin is the kind priest who Pi meets in Munar, so he serves as Pi's introduction to Christianity, telling him the story of Christ's death on the cross and explaining that it was all inspired by love.